Hello, and welcome back to the Elemental I Ching. So today I'm here with the Phoenix portal, or 333 portal at Wonderland for the Drinking In Gene Key number 49, hexagram 49, which is the molting, right, the revolutionary rebirth of this Phoenix key. And right now we've been moving through the fires of desire on the lower trigram. What is our longing? What are our wants? Our desires are calling out to the sensations that we want to be feeling. And that purifying fire of what are we feeding our temple? Are we feeding those lower desires? Are we burning those lower desires? Are we offering them up as prayers for this sacrifice of the divine, that the experience of life wants to be felt passionately through us? Or are we getting stuck in those desires? And getting tied up and enmeshed in that longing and that aversion or desire tendency to move away from what we don't want and move towards what we think we do. And the remembrance that life is the greatest teacher. It gives us what we need, and every experience that we experience. So being with the fire and turning those desires, those longings, into our passionate intent, into the passion of life, into our creativity, into our service, into our life as art. And here in this key, in 49, we add the gentle lake, the joyous lake, the stillness of the mind, the serenity and elation of the mind, here interfacing with the fire of the body. And in the Gene Keys, this key moves from reaction, that knee-jerk response triggered by some sort of external stimuli, especially in relationship, or in our relationship with the world, and into revolution, into using that fire in service to the turning, the spiraling of life, the evolutionary current that is becoming something new, but not from that fear, anger-based knee-jerk response of that reaction, all the way to the city of rebirth, of completely changing the being that we are into the being that we are becoming, into this humanity, this awareness of the awakening reality of humanity rebirthing itself into this next chapter. And every day is our birthday, right? Every day is a new opportunity to become the love that passionately rests within our body, to still the stories of the mind, and to allow that fire to heat the waters of the lake. How else do we make tea but use the power of the fire element to boil the water, to steam, to steep in the beauty that emerges from the heated water, from the medicine of the heated water, from the bath that we can soak in. So reaction in this elemental game of the I Ching is dissatisfaction with our desires. Right? We're dissatisfied with reality. We have a mental projection of why this reality is not what I want. It's not safe. It's not what I'm desiring. And so the reaction becomes this impulse that is stuck mentally with what's occurring and then tries to act out against reality. And we see this all the time in our relationships as well as on a global stage of this warring relationship with life, and how we battle up against those sensations that we don't want, that we don't desire, that we're dissatisfied with. It's a revolution, right? The vitality that emerges when we play with our desires lightly, when we acknowledge that we want, that we long for life, that we long for those experiences of beauty and joy and bliss, and the vitality as we learn to play with that longing and use that fire of desire in service with our passionate intent and our creativity. The revolution is already here. It's the infinite turning of that fire of desire through the vitality of our experience, of our enthusiastic creations, of our elation with life as it is and as it's becoming, and be in that torus, in that constantly revolving life. Every moment is fresh, and we can use the fire of that deepest longing of our soul in service to the vitality and the lightness and the play with the prima materia of life. And I call back to, when I think of revolution, John Lennon and some of those incredible pioneers in the 60s and in the 70s that were creating this new cultural wave that now, I was grown as the cultural norms that were once a revolution of thought and of gender and race and equality, or of the medicines of the world coming to awaken the mind, or to love beyond war. And there's some beautiful quotes from that generation, and I don't know the exact quote, but I feel called to that. I believe it was Lenin talking about how we don't need to tear down the structures for this revolution to really live. And that's the choice we're at. Is it revolution or renaissance, right? Evolution or extinction. We have this moment to choose a new reality, and it can be a beautiful reality. It will be purifying. Right? This is the ring of the whirlwind. The love is going to tear open all the structures that do not serve this new rebirth. And how are we going to passionately engage with this revolution that's already occurring? I was speaking with Amma, and we were just feeling into revolution as this turning wheel, and that every cusp of time and of culture and of new things that emerge into reality, new technologies that merge into reality, new songs, new ways to pray and play in this artful way, new forms of government and economic models, new forms of permaculture and being in relation to the earth. It's this cusp of the new that's the constantly burning part of the spiral of the revolution. And there's always a fringe subculture, there's always a counterculture, there's always that revolutionary agent, that change agent in our collective psyche that's constantly paving the way for something new, that's using that burning fire to maintain and keep sharpening the sword of our awareness, and activated through people who are truly passionate about what they want to see birthed into the world, truly passionate for the change they feel occurring from the inside out. Right? This evolutionary game is an inside job. The revolution comes from this inner rebirth, is what actually is the spark that fuels that true change in the world. And that's how this mutation is flooding through me, is that energy of my rebirth and choosing change. Or as dear brother Gemini brought, choosing change before change chooses you, right? Because the wheel is going to keep turning. And I've been burning on a personal level. I've been burning through some intense sensations, and just sitting with all of this swamp that's being fed to my fire, that's feeding the new vitality that is not yet fully here. We're in an intense eclipse cycle, which I'll talk about more in my Earth Dog transmission coming up, and we're in this intense, I'm in an intense cycle, astrologically and personally and communally and just internally, and feeling all this sensation. And I know it's connected to that global sensation on some level. It's my part. Right? And that's where reaction comes to play, is that we're feeling a lot of these sensations all the time. But when we respond out of charge, when I respond out of charge at someone else for how that external situation triggered me, I've lost all that energy. I've just dispersed it right back out, shot it right back out. Right? Or there's the sublimation. And sublimation is not about choking how we feel, not choking our truth. But we don't always have to express our truth like a volcano. Right? We can actually sublimate all of that energy and channel and temper the steel, right? Fire and water here, the lake and the flame, the tempering of going from the still water into the fires of our purification, into the waters of our clarity and our love and compassion. But even there, the intense heat to cool reaction is tempering one of the hardest substances, right? Creating this steel sword of our integrity as we move forward. And the revolution isn't about to create weapons of destruction, but weapons of love, of compassion, of truth and purity. That's that revolution that's tempering our soul through the intensity of life to become a tool of passionate intent and clarity out in the world. That's the revolution I'm wanting to get on board with. That's the revolution I feel is moving through this collective current. And I don't know what the future is going to bring, and what changes and big changes are occurring on our planet right now and in our cultures right now. So it helps me to focus the clarity, the clean, still lake of the mind, to soften and stop and calm down my stories, my dissatisfied stories with what I see, especially when I look out at the world and at our cultural state, and in personal dynamics when I feel that charge, really, that reactive charge coming up, like still the story, still the mind. And use the reflection of that still lake to see how this is a reflection of me. How my external perspective of reality is a reflection of my dream archetypes, of my psychological archetypes coming back home and stilling those stories so I can really truly understand the reflections that they're offering me, and then feed that information into the cauldron of my belly, into the fires of my life, to choose change that is already choosing me, to be involved in this revolving exploration of passionate love, purification, the whirlwind of change, the mutation as it's occurring from the inside out. I get to participate through my art. I get to participate through the way that I interact with people. I get to participate through the way that I feed the service back into reality, to choose new habits, to choose new relationship values, to choose new global and cultural exchange so that I can be even greater relationship with this planet, with the human family, with all of our plant and animal families and mineral kingdoms, to be in wholeness with life, because the wheel of revolution is a recognition of the wholeness of life. And we don't have to be on the edge of the wheel getting crushed when it gets turned onto the other side, and then the peaks of the high, right? The Buddha, the teachings of that stillness at the center of the wheel, to be at the center of that wheel. It doesn't mean we're excluded from the fact that life is always changing. Suffering exists. Great joy and ecstasy exists. Victory and defeat, they're all real in that game. And it's not like the coming to stillness and being at peace means you're no longer a player in that game, but you're no longer a victim to the unconscious energies of desire and aversion, the poisons of the mind that keep us confused. That's what my goal is to find that center, that peace amidst the disturbance. Because that's the one thing I've noticed translates to every part of my life. If I can be at peace with disturbance, I can be with my illnesses and my sicknesses and my injuries. I can be with my family when they go through difficult times. I can be with my community holding that cauldron for our collective healing. Not because I've fixed myself, not because I'm better than, not because I'm separate than, but because I'm choosing to cultivate peace amidst that turbulence, to cultivate the bliss of this rapture that's occurring. The gold of who we are will never burn, will never melt. So take rapture in the layers that are on fire, becoming ash around you, for this rebirth of this phoenix of who we are, to come forward in a good way in that blissful, rapturous state of rebirth. So much love out to all my friends and family right now who are going through intense change, intense rebirth, becoming this new being that we are, leading up into this final part of this eclipse cycle and the Chinese New Year and Valentine's Day, and this whole new chapter of our life is beginning as the spring is emerging, as the fires are burning. So, compassion and so many prayers of peace to all my friends who are really going through it right now, and also to the mothers out there. I have several friends who are pregnant, who are giving birth this year, and just honoring the birth, the rebirth, this new life that is forged through times of pain and struggle. It's forged through the perseverance of the great mother and the healthy father that protects and nourishes and honors that mother, for the families and communities that support one another as we go through these initiations of birth, of death, of change, of individuation, of growth, of dissolution, and of the changes in relationships that are forking, and our commitments that are no longer of the highest benefit to where we are right now. Everything is molting. Everything is changing. That's the fire of truth that's constantly awakening us to this fresh newness that we are, the witness of who we are, as we are and as we are becoming. So here's my Phoenix prayer for today, giving great thanks to this beautiful piece by many Wonderland chefs have been painted into this wall as one of our art rituals of using paint and song infused in the walls of our own home to really remember those portals of the fresh conscious moment awakening to itself. So much love to you all. There's a couple more videos coming this week. We have the Desire of Fire here for Valentine's Day, and of course the next Chinese New Year, the elemental change into the Earth Dog of Integrity. So stay tuned to Facebook and to Patreon and to YouTube so you can get some of these new videos that I wanted to stream through. So much love and compassion to you all, and thank you for this opportunity to share.